Now, just yesterday, I was doing a video on the Xbox 720 or Xbox 3 or whatever it's going to be called, and people kind of messaged me. I received a few messages mentioning that they were very disappointed with the choice of the graphics card on the console, which, in case you haven't seen, apparently it's going to be based upon ATI's, or shall I say AMD's, obviously they were bought out by AMD. It's based upon their 6670 card, and many people originally assumed, due to many rumours from various websites, that are relatively well respected, that was instead going to be the 7000 series from ATI, or shall I say AMD? I'm sorry, I'm used to referring to them as ATI. Anyway, regardless, many people assumed that, and I would like to point out, first of all, I am a PC gamer, and I'm not sure if this is going to have any bearing or relevance on these, rants, if you will, but I thought I'd just get it out there because, many people who watch my videos might also be PC gamers, so I just want to point out that, it can be very tempting to judge the specifications of a console based on what's a high-end or even a medium-end PC for gaming at the time. I'll give you an example. When the Xbox 360 was launched, back in 2005, well, it may as well have been 2006, it was so late in the year, but regardless, about 6 years ago now, if you were to look at the amount of RAM the average PC had, it was, for gaming at least, 2, maybe even 4 times the amount as what the console had. So, for example, the Xbox 360, as I'm sure many of you know, had 512 megabytes of RAM, and most PCs at then had at least 1 gig. And I think I was rocking 2. I'm not 100%, as I said, it's a while ago now. But anyway, regardless of the point, I had quite a lot of grunt behind it. And, graphics cards then were, 256 to 512 megabytes of RAM dedicated onto the system. So it's worth noting, of course, that that's all great for PCs, but for consoles it's very different because they're in a closed system. Many people forget this. One of the biggest overheads you have as a PC is you can't have so much efficiency simply because games developers don't really know what system you're going to end up playing. I mean, sure, they can take a wild stab that, most people are going to be, say, for example, on a dual-core at least processor, but what type? Are you going to be AMD? Are you going to be, are you going to be an Intel? Are you going to be on a dual-core system? Are you going to be a triple-core system, a quad-core system? Are you going to have hyper-threading? What speed is the processor? What's the efficiency of the processor? For example, if you're not, that greatly interested in PCs, this might, kind of put you to sleep, but I thought I'd, go over it anyway. When, for example, I had Intel's Q6600, which was a quad-core processor, the performance was pretty great. And then I upgraded to, a Sandy Bridge i5 quad-core processor, the 2500K. I'm looking to upgrade again when Ivy Bridge comes out. And, of course, the performance was massively better, even though it's a quad-core. Of course, clock speed's a bit better, of course, on the Sandy Bridges, but that's not the point. It's the efficiency of the processor. It's a lot faster. I'm sure this isn't news to anyone. I'm sure many of you already know this, but I just want to point it out because for consoles it's very much the same thing. The efficiency of the console, because it's a closed system, means that the developers can squeeze a lot more out of the system as they become more and more familiar with it. So, Microsoft chose these parts for a few reasons. First of all, cost. Obviously, if you were to look at the price of a medium to high-end graphics card in the UK, you're looking at, £200 to £300. And for the very highest end, you probably can slap another £100 to £200 on top of that, depending on, just what type of systems you want. If you want one, a water block and everything else, you definitely will be kind of paying top dollar. But other than that, you're looking at quite a bit of money, and obviously that's not very feasible for, say, a console. Microsoft don't want to make that much of a huge loss on a console, and I'm pretty damn sure that well, people don't want to pay £800 to £900 for a console, so it means that there has to be some give and take somewhere. So of course price comes into it. The second thing is heat. Now bear in mind, if you've got a PC, a large ass PC, a full tower case, anyone who's into overclocking or really into PC gaming will know one of your mortal enemies in the world is heat. This means that you have to have a lot of cooling in your system. So, with this in mind, well, Microsoft kind of understand this, obviously, and they're going to make the console as thermally efficient as possible, therefore, in other words, put out as less heat as possible. That's why one of the reasons that gaming laptops are so expensive, because the components have to be created in such a way where they're thermally efficient. So, in other words, they don't overheat and you get random crashes and so forth. So, the last one is actually power efficiency. In other words, you need the console to be, once again, efficient with its power usage, once again, coming down to heat and various other reasons. So, there you have it. There's one of the many, or one section, should I say, of the many reasons that Microsoft went with this system. Plus, of course, because it's slightly older tech, it's been proven. Obviously, slightly older tech is proven tech. Newer tech, you can have bugs in the manufacturing processes, the yields. In other words, how many process you get out of a silicon wafer could be, very low in comparison to modern, which once again bumps up the price, and worse, especially near a console launch, makes the console very difficult to actually get out there. After all, if say 1 in 3 of your chips fail, then I'm pretty sure you can guess that that's going to very, very, very much affect the amount of consoles that you can actually put out. And there's also a good chance that the failure rate of those consoles is going to be higher. So, those reasons alone, I'm going to be doing another video very soon, which is going to be going over the actual in-depth specifications and what they mean of the various things. So I'll be explaining, in case you're not that familiar with various things, I'll be explaining things like what is anti-aliasing, what is anisotropic filtering, what actually resolution is, because I think many people get a clear understanding of it, but there might be one or two that don't, and they just know that higher is better. And of course there's going to be various other things. I do want to kind of deviate into one last thing before I go. Once again, in terms of just raw number crunching, shall I put it, the new cards are around 6 times more powerful than the ones that were in the Xbox 360, in other words the previous generation console. However, as I've mentioned in my previous video, that doesn't mean that you're going to see graphics that are 6 times better. Now, it's not that well known, but not all of the 360 games actually run in 720p natively. What this means is, if you have ever looked at your console's, output settings, which I'm sure many of you probably have, you'll know that you have many different resolution options. These are from the lowly, 640 by 480, all the way up to 1920 by 1080, in other words 1080p content. And if you're hooking up to a PC monitor, you also have, I believe, a few other options, including 1366 and 1680 by 1050, I believe. But many people assume that the console's native resolution is 720p, so that's 1280 by 720. So obviously 1280 being the amount of pixels wide, and 720 being the amount of pixels vertically. Unfortunately, as the console's aged, that's no longer the case. What is the case is that the console has now started, or shall I say, the manufacturers of games have started to kind of lower the resolution of the games as a simple way to be able to pump out more graphical effects on screen. One of the things about this, of course, is, for example, Modern Warfare 3 has a pretty bad FOV, or field of view, and many games are actually running internally at 600p and then are upscaled, which basically means they are shall I say, let's just make it simple and say they are outputted at 1080p, and scaled and made to look a little bit better than they would be internally, but generally speaking, you are losing a lot of the quality of, say, 720p. I'm, vastly for simplifying this because I don't want to get into a whole thing on this video. So, of course, one of the concerns of any closed system is eventually you're going to have that problem. Resolution is is going to always be there. But anyway, enough of my ranting. I'm going to get going, and hopefully you will find this video a little bit useful. So I'll see you next time. Bye.